Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Coach Monken's weekly press conference here at NOAC Auditorium as the Black Knights get set to take on Eastern Michigan this Saturday with a noon kickoff on CBS Sports Network and the Army Sports Network. So Coach will start with an opening statement and then take questions from those here at NOAC and those joining us on the teleconference. At this time, I'd like to introduce the head coach of the Black Knights, Jeff Monken.
Good afternoon. Glad to get another victory. Our guys, I thought, really played well once we got going. It took us a little bit offensively. We had a couple drives there to start the game, and credit Rice, they were doing a good job. They're very stingy on defense. They were stout up front, physical. We thought they would be. It's just kind of been the way those guys have looked and played against us the last 3 years going into this season. That thought they were a very physical team, a fast secondary, and we had to punt it to them a couple times, and we got it going with the pick six on defense, and that really opened things up. There was a great play by Max. We got a little bit of heat on the quarterback and made him throw it and get rid of the ball, and he stepped in front of it, and then from there it was a bunch of opportunities with turnovers. So we capitalized, and that was what was important. With each of those turnovers, we were able to get some points and stretch the lead pretty early in the game, and it gave us some breathing room. So it's proud of our guys and the way they finished. It wasn't just completely the turnovers. As we went through the game, we rushed for a lot of yards and held on to the ball, and then defensively did a nice job of keeping them out of the end zone. They had a good drive right there at the beginning of the second half. We gave up a long kickoff return, which was really disappointing, and then they put together a drive and had a nice touchdown run to score, and then toward the end hit a big pass play. But I thought our defense was really playing well, and so it's nice to get a win. Good to come back home here after having gotten a victory like that on the road. We hadn't gotten one all year, and it was really important to our team to accomplish that. So the Eastern Michigan team, really impressed watching them. They've played everybody really tight. They played particularly well on defense. They're holding opponents to as few yards as they have in a long time. I mean, they're giving up 18 points a game, which is really impressive. They played Kentucky, they played Rutgers, they played Toledo, who was averaging over 40 points a game, and held them to 20. And just making a bunch of plays and doing a good job stopping the run. So that's going to be a real challenge for us, obviously. That's what we're going to try to do. And then offensively, their quarterback is really a talented, special player. Not only does he throw for a bunch of yards, he's got several receivers that he likes to throw it to. I was reading in their stats, and you can see it when you watch, but you don't start looking at jersey numbers until you see in the statistics that he hit several different receivers in every game. I think the fewest number of receivers has been 9, and he's hit as many as 12 different guys in one game. We haven't completed 12 passes the whole season. They're completing to 12 different guys in one game. So they spread it out a lot and do a really good job. They're a well-coached football team, and just the job that they've done in the short time they've been there is really, really impressive. A bowl team last year, and it's not the same Eastern Michigan that I think everybody has expected, and I hope we're not the same Army team that everybody's expected. I hope we're improving, but you certainly can see that in their team. They've got a stout team who believes they're going to win, and has battled everybody right from the SEC team to a Big Ten team, and I'm really impressed with them, and it's going to take a great effort this week, and hopefully our guys will be able to rebound from the long trip back and refocus on winning this game. It's an awfully important one for us.
Go ahead, Joe.
Coach, regarding the turnovers, now I'm going to go back a week. We were talking about that UTEP back that had the good first half. You said, well, part of that was we were trying to strip the ball. Okay, that sticks in the mind. And then next week, 5 fumbles. Is the defense making a conscious attempt to get that ball?
Oh, and we've made a conscious attempt every time we've tackled somebody. I mean, you can see in the Tulane game, you go back to that game, and you can see guys trying to strip the ball. And I think against Ohio State 3 different times, you can see Jalen McClinton trying to rip the ball out. It's continued to be a point of emphasis. But the second turnover, we had obviously the pick 6. The second turnover, it was a speed sweep, and the exchange had just happened, and Alex reached his hand out, Ackerman, and kind of punched the ball out, and we got that one. The third turnover, Max kind of got his hands around the ball as the quarterback was being tackled. His back was going toward the ground, and the ball was up, and he got both hands around it and just ripped it out and stole it from him. We had another one where Jalen went and knocked the ball out. We had the one late, I think Javar Bordeaux knocked the ball out. And they had one that it was just a fumbled exchange that it hit the ground and popped up, and we were able to recover it. So I think the guys did a good job, and it's something that we've continued to work on. We'll have to continue to do it. And you get those either because somebody just throws it to you or drops it on the ground, and you can't count on those. So you've got to go after it and try to get it out. And it just so happened we probably were in the right place at the right time on this go-around. But 6 turnovers is a lot in one game for sure.
For sure. Well, then, will future opponents looking at the Army tape go, guys better really, really hold on to the ball because they're going for it?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, we got 3 games in a row where we didn't cause a turnover, yet you still see guys trying to punch at it and pull at it, and so I think that's people are going to be conscious that we're trying to do that, and I think defensive coaches all around the country are trying to get turnovers. We all understand that it's a big factor in the game. If you can win the turnover battle, your chances go up in terms of winning. So I'm sure everybody's emphasizing that just as we are.
Go ahead, Rich.
Hey, Coach, Rich DeMarco, Army Radio. If you could just speak about this next stretch coming up, 6 straight games against bowl teams from last year to finish out the regular season, and how critical, starting Saturday it is being back at home with 2 games in a row at home.
Well, just one at a time, and we can't worry about the ones beyond this one. It's the only one that matters right now. It's the only one we can do anything about, and it's going to take our best effort to win this one. And we'll be excited if we can do that. So we've got a number of really good teams on our schedule. We've played a number of good teams already, but obviously the Eastern Michigan team and what they did last year and going to a bowl game, and I'm sure the excitement that they have in their program, you can see it's carried over. I mean, to be able to have the kind of success they have against really good opponents. And 2 Power 5 teams already, a close loss in overtime to a very good Ohio team, to hold Toledo down as they did. It's an impressive team. So it's going to take a great effort and execution of our game plan to be able to win.
And, Coach, with the injuries you've had and other players getting opportunities, let's say on offense, how much has the offense been able to improve with other players getting opportunities? And maybe when you're healthy, how much of a better place you're going to be in with some younger guys getting some opportunities?
I think when other guys get chances to play, it helps them improve. As we go through the season, I hope that just as a whole, as a unit, our offense is getting better. And we are fairly healthy for the most part right now. We seem to have each week some of those linemen limping through the first couple of days of practice, and then finally start to get them healthy toward the end of the week. And we'd like to have those guys ready for Saturday for sure. It's a physical game, and you're going to get beat up sometimes, but they've done a good job of recovering. And in the skill positions, we've kind of had some guys up and down a little bit with John Trainer being down for a couple of weeks there, and Jordan Asbury getting nicked up a bit. Darnell being out still. There's some guys that we'd like to have back to full health, but I think the guys that have taken the place of those skill position guys have done a good job. The B-backs are a perfect example. So it's part of football. I hope we can keep them healthy, and if we can't, hopefully we've got enough banked reps with those guys that they'll be able to carry the load.
Thanks, Coach.
Sal?
Moving Jalen to corner to start last game, was that just getting the best players on the field, or?
Yeah, he's got experience playing corner. Obviously, did that the last half of the season or last 5 games of the season last year, and just look at our veteran players and the guys that we feel like are in position to make the plays we need them to make. Max is not experienced. He's probably got less experience than some of those corners that we're playing, but we felt like Max had been improving and had a good week of practice, and frankly, the corner positions are a real scary spot, and to have guys that are not experienced or just haven't had the game reps and the speed that comes at you, that to stand out there in space with a lot of green grass behind you and to each side of you, and have to cover a very skilled football player, maybe one of the most difficult jobs in football. And so I think it's important that we get the guys right now that we feel are going to be able to do the best job with that position, and we felt like Jalen would give us the best chance against Rice. And whether that'll carry over into this week or not, I don't know. We'll see as we go through practice this week.
With Max, is it just getting more comfortable being in the starting position, or what have you seen in him?
I think so, and I think Jay and John and the defensive staff building our defense to make him comfortable, to make sure he's in position, and to do the things that he physically can handle.
Go ahead, John.
You look at their defense trending upwards the last couple weeks, especially from a pass rush standpoint. I think they've had 4 or 5 sacks the last few games. What do they do so well up front and able to cause that pressure?
They play really hard, and they do a great job with their schemes, and where they've been able to sack people. Sometimes they're just lining up and beating the guy across from them and winning on a pass rush. And other times they've schemed up some really good things to get people free, and I think they're on pace to set a school record for tackles for loss or something like that. Or they've just done a great job on defense. And what's impressive is it's a brand new defensive coordinator, so he came in and put in a new system, and their kids have responded, and they've done a nice job. And we talk about passing a lot and in here and in the press conferences, and I've been asked about it more this year than anything. But that's another thing to look at. If they're pretty good at rushing the passer, we can take our chances and drop back there and throw it. But that's not what we do all the time either. That's not what way our guys are built. So we've got to try to minimize, and if we can, eliminate negative yardage plays. And I think that helps us stay on schedule. And when we've been able to stay on schedule and get it to 3rd and short or 4th and short, we've been able to keep the ball moving. And that's really our goal offensively, is to do that and get ourselves close enough to score.
It seems like at times they've been kind of abandoning the run. I know the last 3 games haven't really broke 75 yards, but they've been throwing it almost 40 times or more a game. Is this a week where, with the kind of not lack of experience, but a lot of guys who haven't been playing a ton in that secondary for you, extra emphasis in the secondary this week, or can they beat you on the ground? It's just a matter of game script.
Oh, I think they can run the ball effectively. They've got a big offensive line. They got a left tackle that's enormous, and tall, and I'm so impressed with how agile he is, how athletic he is. He's 6'8" or 6'9" or something. I mean, just huge. Very physical running backs, a lot like our B-backs, run hard and run between the tackles. But they've had so much success throwing the ball. I mean, that's kind of been their thing. Just as we do running the football, they throw the ball. And it's not all, long passes where they're trying to throw it over the top of somebody's head. A lot of them are a very controlled passing game, underneath routes or comeback routes on the perimeter, screen passes, and bubbles, and they've done some really good stuff. And as we control the ball, running it, I think they do the same thing passing the ball. They don't take a lot of chances and make foolish plays where the guy just tosses it up into triple coverage or tries to blindly throw it across the middle. He's a really good player, and their coaching staff's done a good job of getting him prepared to throw to the right guy. And when you throw it to 9, 10, 11, 12 different guys in one game, they got a bunch of guys that can make a play for them. So there'll be a challenge to defend for sure.
And for you guys being back at home, noon kickoff, something you're usually accustomed to, but not the last couple of weeks with the night kickoff last week on the road, and then even the 3:30 2 weeks ago here at home. Is it any difference when you play that noon game on a Saturday compared to a 3:30, where you're kind of more used to it from years past?
I don't know if you get into a groove and get used to it, because when you do go on the road, oftentimes the start time changes. But there's an adjustment certainly to our schedule and what we do on game day when we play at noon as opposed to late afternoon or in the evening as we did at Rice. Just in terms of the meetings that we're able to have with our guys or walkthroughs on game day, and there's more time to do that when there's a later start. But both teams play at the same time, so it's just a matter of adjusting our schedule. We played at 11 o'clock in the morning when we were down there at Tulane, so which was real different.
Do you have a preference? Is it easier to kind of wake up, do what you got to do, and get after it, as opposed to kind of waiting around for a couple hours?
I don't know. I think the advantage for us of playing at noon is that we're often one of the first games of the day, and we're on national TV when we play here at home on CBS Sports. So that to me is well worth playing at any time. If we can be on national TV, prospects all across the country can watch us. Army fans, the families of our players. So if I had to trade for a time, it would first be, can we be on TV if we play at that time? So that's more important to me.
Thanks.
All right, we'll open it. Those joining us on the teleconference, please state your name and organization and ask your question.
Yes, this is Charles Grievous with GoBlackKnights.com. Good afternoon, Coach. Unlike many of the teams that you guys have faced recently, Eastern Michigan has relied exclusively on one quarterback, and you mentioned him in your opening statement. Many of the Army fans may remember this guy leading them in 2015, and now he's a senior and having a really outstanding year. You talked about it a little bit, but more specifically, what does the secondary have to do to prepare to face him on Saturday?
As I said, it's tough to play back there. I didn't play back there, and as I watch those guys and watch them work and practice and play in the games, it's challenging. And when you've got a team like Eastern Michigan that throws as well as they do, and spreads it around as much as they do, it's very difficult to get a tendency on who they're going to throw it to and in what particular formation and which jersey number guy you really got to concentrate and focus on when they're having that much success throwing it to so many people. You got to cover them all. You got to cover the whole field. And it's not just the secondary, it's the linebackers too, and it's the defensive line getting the pass rush. But what we've got to do is have our secondary, all of them, the starters, the backups, because Lord knows we've had to play with a lot of guys that didn't start the game or didn't start the season, and have those guys prepared to be able to keep things in front of them and deny passes in front of them when they have the opportunity, and hopefully we'll do a good enough job of covering them that they don't, light up the scoreboard throwing the ball around on us.
Okay, and my final question is, I guess every contest this season, with perhaps the exception of the second half of the Ohio State game, the Army team has been in position to win or has won the game. As you look at the 2017 schedule coming into this season, is this pretty much what you expected this team to be, or whether you expect them to be at this stage? And I'm not just talking about the record itself, but the intangibles, the temperament and personality that makes up this team, makes up the squad.
I think this team is just a byproduct of the last couple of seasons, and building toward this attitude and this confidence that we have an opportunity to win every game if we'll play the way we're capable of playing. And that doesn't mean we've got better players than anybody we play. I mean, that was acknowledged this past weekend. I think you guys listen to all that stuff as much or more than I do, that there was some acknowledgement that the other team had better players than us. Very well may be true. So we know that too, and we don't sugarcoat it for our guys or masquerade about who we are. We know we're not as physically gifted or as fast or as big oftentimes as anybody we play, but if we can execute the fundamentals and play tough and play really hard, that we'll give ourselves a chance to win. And I think our team, our program, has kind of latched on to that mantra, I guess. We got to be tougher and we got to play harder, and we've got to do the little things right. And so we've gotten closer to that each year and each time we've played, and I think the guys start to believe that you can still win if you possess those qualities. So you just never know what you're going to have, Charles, with each team. Each team has a different personality, and each team is different than the one before. But I think we've got enough guys that have played, have experience, that they were going to have some confidence about winning.
Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, Coach. Ken Kreitzer, Sons of the American Legion Radio. Hey, just looking at Eastern Michigan's win over Rutgers on the road, 16-13 in September. They outgained Rutgers by 50 yards. They had 2 turnovers, a couple of tackles for a loss. What did you see in that game about how they were able to play that well against a Big Ten team? Well,
they've played very physical, and you don't play the kind of defense that they're playing, holding people to as few points as they are, and especially doing a great job against the run game. They're holding to their opponents to far fewer yards in the running game than we are, and that's something we take a lot of pride in. We want to be good at stopping the run, and they've done that, and that takes a physical team and a team that's well coached and playing their assignments, and that's what you see when you watch them against everybody they play. And I was watching the Kentucky game this morning and just, again, impressed with how hard they play and how well they're playing defense.
And, Coach, we saw Andrew McLean, your defensive lineman, go out with an injury this week. Is he available to play, and how do you feel Cordell Davis does when he's in there?
He's not available at this point, and we're going to get some further evaluations on him to see if there's a possibility that he can return, or if this is something that's going to be a long-term injury. But right now he's out for this game, and we'll see where it goes. And Rod Stoddard, Cordell Davis, and Emmanuel Ukaligbe will be the guys that will kind of take up the slack there behind him. We may shuffle some guys around on the defensive line to get our best guys out there. But we'll see. We got some guys that I think can do the job for us, and we'll find out this week just what the best combination is.
And Coach, I was going to ask you about your freshman running back, Stanton McCoy, who got in Saturday, 42 yards. What did you see in his game on Saturday?
Stanton was a really good high school player and did a really good job at our prep school last year. I think he's a very talented player, and I'm excited to watch him develop. He's got a lot of good players in front of him right now with some game experience, which that's hard to beat out. But he did a nice job carrying the ball. He also played on the kickoff team, ran down on 8 kickoffs, and did a nice job with that. So he quietly was getting a dozen, 15 reps, which was great for him. And the more he plays, the better he'll get.
Thanks, Coach.
Go ahead, Joe.
Coach, John Kickett for the Associated Press. Just wondering about Darnell Woolfolk. Is he available this week?
We may know later this week if he is. He was running yesterday with the trainers with his treatment, the side-to-side stuff. Still not full go there, but that doesn't mean he couldn't be there by the end of the week. So we're hopeful. We'd like to get him back as soon as possible, but if not this week, hopefully the weekend after.
Thanks, Coach.
Any others joining us via teleconference? Go ahead, Joe.
Okay, take 2. When you come up against a team that seems to emphasize defense, I'm reading this thing and it's defense, defense, defense. Does your playbook shrink? Do you say, okay, we got to do what we do really well and just stick with that? Or does your playbook expand a little and say, let's throw a trick play at them, see what happens?
Well, we've got trick plays every week. We haven't used many of them, but you always keep a couple of those in your pocket just in case. They've hit some trick plays. That's for them. They've I think 3 touchdown passes thrown by wide receivers, that's pretty. It's a pretty good stat right there. But in terms of what we do, we're gonna do our best to try to figure out what they might do on defense. And we don't know for sure. We feel like it could be maybe one of 2 things, and we'll probably prepare for both. And if it's neither of those things, then we'll adjust as the game goes along. And that's happened in the past before. But we just do our best to try to execute the plays that we feel are our best at attacking those fronts. And that's really the way our offense is built. It's not to try to figure out how do we run this play against this defense. It's, okay, here's the defense we think we're going to face. What are the plays that we feel like are best against that defense? And we practice those. So it's never a real extensive plan. We don't have a whole lot we do. It may look different, and it may have there may be subtle differences between one play and the next, but a lot of the skills and the fundamentals that we work on one play have carry over to the next. So hopefully we'll be able to execute our offense against, like you said, a very good defense.
Oh, and just one other thing, Coach. When you were talking about that offensive lineman, I went to look him up. He's from Denmark.
There you
the kid
go.
underneath him is from Germany.
There you
That's
go.
a hell of a long way from those places to Eastern Michigan. And I'm not going to guess how they got there. Let me ask you this. You obviously are a little limited in who you could recruit for this school, but what's the farthest recruiting trip you've ever made?
I guess when we went out to Hawaii to recruit these guys we got from the islands. Kalen Holt's the only guy on our team left from the guys we've recruited from Hawaii, but I guess that's a long trip from the East Coast all the way out there.
All right, but it's still the same country. My point. Have you ever gone overseas looking for talent?
I never have.
Oh, okay.
When I was at the University of Hawaii, we had a couple of players on our team from New Zealand, one from Australia. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's not uncommon. It's probably more common than you think.
Okay, just wondering.
Thank you, everybody, for joining. And go Army.